Welcome to today's workplace series. Today, we are talking about presence and why your presence matters. If you've ever been in a conversation with someone or a meeting, it's really clear when they're not paying attention. You'll know it doesn't feel good either. You leave the interaction thinking, why did I bother? They're clearly not interested. Their lack of presence is apparent. So too, that negative impact you can have on how you feel, your feelings, your thoughts, and the outcomes of the conversation. When I reflect on the really good leaders, the great leaders that I've worked with, one trait that would set them apart is presence. For those who had it, and now whether it was a casual conversation or in a meeting, they were focused, they were deliberate. And as a participant in that interaction, you left feeling seen and, most importantly, that you mattered to them. In contrast, for those who didn't have presence, you knew their attention was elsewhere. Sometimes it was obvious. For example, they were looking at their phone or taking a call while they were in a meeting with you. At other times, it was more subtle. They seemed distracted, disinterested, and just generally disconnected and unavailable. For the leaders with presence, it seemed effortless. Now, I don't know whether they were born with it or whether it was something that they consciously cultivated. What I do know is that it matters. You, when you're on the receiving end, you know when it's there and you know when it's not. Now, there's some core characteristics of presence. It's not just about charisma. It's about demeanor, focus. It's being fully engaged, invested in the moment, conveying a sense of purpose, authenticity, connection. And it's not solely about how you look or you sound, but about how you make other people feel when you're interacting with them. This means you listen, you engage, you make eye contact, you nod, you ask thoughtful questions, you show that you are listening, you demonstrate empathy and understanding. And what you're doing by all of this is saying to the other person, I'm genuinely interested in you, interested in who you are and what matters to you. This isn't about arrogance, but a willingness to also back yourself and take calculated risks. It's holding steady, being composed in the face of challenge and stress. It's being willing to share your feelings without letting emotions overrun decision-making and your perspective. So why does presence matter? Now, I've touched on some of this earlier, but there's a few other things. It's really easy to see the leaders who haven't. I'll use the former Chancellor of Germany, Angela Merkel, as a perfect example. She was known for her quiet but commanding presence, and it was her calm and rational demeanour during multiple crises that really helped steer European leaders to a good outcome. Leaders with presence help the people around them feel heard, valued, respected. They create an environment where others follow their lead, not out of obligation, but because they genuinely want to be part of something. When you're present, you connect. The person walks away going, hey, I matter to that person. This is helping to really build and strengthen relationships. Similarly, when you're present, you notice what's said, what's unsaid. You can see those subtle shifts in relationships and group dynamics. All of these elements put you in a stronger position to influence and negotiate outcomes. Having presence is also beneficial for your career. Many years ago, I was talking to a senior executive about someone that they worked with who had that really rapid career advancement. And I asked them, what was that distinguishing feature? What really made them stand out? Their response to me was, Michelle, it was presence. They always turned up prepared. They listened, they were focused, they observed what was being said, which means they were able to really contribute to the conversation. The challenge with all of this is there are huge barriers in today's digital age. We have so many distractions, which means it takes additional effort to have presence. We've got those constant barrage of notifications, the lure of social media, the demands that are placed on us because of our increasing digital life. And that makes it much harder. We're losing the practice of being present in the moment. We can worry about missing out and so constantly check our digital devices. And many of us are addicted to being on. There's also research that suggests our attention spans are getting shorter. There are also people who are suggesting that with all of this, not only is it that our attention spans are getting shorter, but rather we're learning how to adapt our attention spans in different ways, but not really in ways that are helpful. Lastly, multitasking is a myth. Once heralded this kind of major skill, fantastic to have, it's really clear now. This is backed up by research. All multitasking does is split our attention. It prevents us from fully engaging in the moment. It also results in that original task that we were working on taking longer to complete. So we need to recognize that there are barriers. The good news, none of these barriers are insurmountable. Being present takes work, but it's well worth the effort. So where do you start? Firstly, you need to look in because self-awareness is absolutely crucial. You need to know yourself because that allows you to focus on who you are, what type of leader you want to be. And once you know that, you can better target the areas that you need to focus. And there's 4 crucial characteristics to consider. Authenticity, because when you embrace authenticity, it not only enhances your presence, but it also builds trust. You want to be adaptable. When you're adaptable, you're willing to adjust to different situations. You recognize that you can't be rigid. You want to be present, but that also means you need to be flexible and open-minded. You want to be empathic. You want to understand the feelings of others, seek to understand their perspectives. You also want to be respectful, be considerate, courteous, interested in others. Next, after self-awareness, you need to have that inner calm. It's really hard to be present when your mind is scattered in a million different directions. So practices such as meditation, deep breathing, all of these really help. Meditation lays the groundwork for you to be more mindful, and it's your breathing that you can then use when you're feeling perhaps a little stressed or a little flustered. That breathing helps to release tension and helps you focus. You also want to focus externally. So once you've done the inner work, now you can turn external because you want to know, how am I going to use the presence to be effective? How am I going to show that my team that I'm important? How do I create meeting policies that discourage the device use, that enable people to be present in the moment? Presence creates connection. So be thoughtful when you're turning up to meetings, thoughtful when you're doing one-on-one conversations with people. Consider all interactions as an opportunity to strengthen relationships. Make efforts so that you are single tasking rather than multitasking. You want to prioritize connections when you're with people. Summarize. Tell people what it is that you're hearing. Avoid interrupting, judging, jumping to conclusion. What you want to be able to do through all of this is notice your communication skills, both those verbal skills and non-verbal skills. Are you maintaining eye contact? Are you using active listening techniques? What's your body language showing? What are your habits? Do you fidget when you're in meetings? Do you play with your phone? All of this is a great reminder. Presence is a quality that can be cultivated because it's a skill. So the key question for you to answer, what's your first step that you need to take to elevate your presence at work? Take care. I'll see you next week.